welcome to the Heart of the Home. I'm Chef John Maxwell, and we're here in Meadow Hall at Meadow Event Park in Doswell, Virginia, and we're getting ready to play with some great Virginia food. We do this every week. This week is a special, though. We're going to be playing with some oysters out of the Chesapeake Bay. We're making a dish that relies very heavily on the quality of the oysters that you use. All right, the first thing we want to do is we want to get this pot started to getting hot. All right, and I'm going to put some butter in the bottom of that pot. All right. While that's melting, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about these oysters. These came from the Piankatank, which is a river that feeds into the Chesapeake Bay. These came from my brother's oyster operation. He doesn't have a commercial operation. He has a few Taylor floats out by his house, and he grows his own oysters. So this is what a Chesapeake oyster looks like if you let it go and let it just keep on growing. It's all rough and craggy. It's got mussels growing on it. It's got barnacles. It's got all kinds of stuff growing on it. They're ugly on the outside and just gorgeous on the inside. So this is melted. It's getting ready to go. I'm going to take my oysters. And I'm not going to make a full batch. You can get the recipe for a full batch off the website, but I'm just going to saute off these oysters. Aren't these gorgeous oysters? This oyster stew is going to need a knife and fork. So we got that in there. Stir that around a little bit. All I want to do with this is get the oysters to curl around the edges, just to begin to cook. I don't want them to actually overcook, and it's why we're doing the oysters first. All right. Now I'm going to take this around. I'm going to transfer the oysters into this. So now I've got butter that we've used to cook the oysters. I'm going to add some celery, all right, and some shallots, and let that saute off a little bit. Just want the vegetables to soften. I don't want them to brown. You don't want anything to brown here. All right. As they begin to soften, they'll release some of the liquid. And that way the flavor of the celery, the flavor of the shallots will go through the whole soup. Now we're going to add some oyster liqueur. This is what you drain off. It's in the shell, but you don't necessarily slurp it down. I'll put some oyster liqueur in here. And it's going to give it a great flavor. Now I'm going to add some milk. And the recipe is on the website, so you can get the exact amount for the amount that you want. Milk's going in there. And now some heavy cream. Good local Virginia heavy cream. Now we're going to let this come to a boil. And it's going to take a couple of minutes. So we're going to add the oysters back in. You can see this is beginning to boil. One of the things to watch out for with the oyster stew is that if you boil it too long or too hard, the oyster liqueur that's in here will cause the cream and the milk to curdle a little bit, and you don't want to do that. So we've got that there. I'm going to cut the heat down, right? And I'm going to add these oysters back in, and now we're going to simmer it for about a minute, minute and a half. All right, now that's a very basic, straightforward oyster stew. Very tasty, rich in oyster flavor. But a lot of people like to spice theirs up a little bit, and you could do that with Tabasco sauce or with Worcestershire sauce. But be careful with them. Oyster stew is really good on its own. This is best if you heat the bowl. You don't have to heat the bowl, of course, but it's best if you heat the bowl. Right. Now we're going to add the oysters to the bowl. Typically you would do this because you'd cook the whole batch of oyster stew for everybody, and you want to make sure everybody gets the right amount of oysters. Otherwise you have to disarm your guests, take knives away and forks away because they'll fight. Right. I'll take a ladle. Right. Add this here. Here we've got Oyster Stew, Virginia style. All right. And we got a little bit of crackers. They are called, oddly enough, oyster crackers. So we'll add a few of those to it as well. Have a good time. It's Chesapeake Bay. So join us next week on Heart of the Home, where we get to play with great Virginia food.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafb.com, as well as on Chef Maxwell's website at chefjohnmaxwell.com.